And welcome to Board Game Breakfast. We are back from Dice Tower East, and we are ready to eat breakfast. I didn't eat breakfast the entire week. That's actually not true. I normally don't eat breakfast.
We normally don't eat breakfast, but yeah, you're walking like 16,000 steps a day at those conventions.
Yes.
And I'm Roy Kennedy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Hi, Wendy.
We were talking about breakfast, Roy.
I don't do breakfast
was
either.
Important.
Sometimes you don't do lunch.
The most important meal of the day to skip. That's what breakfast is, right?
Yeah, it's like I feel like the science is out a lot of times that like we eat enough, you know.
Good. Yeah. Generally speaking.
I think it's different when you're in school. So.
I think it's different also when you're doing physical labor a lot.
Yeah, I think that's
You're sitting
too.
at a desk, it's a very different thing.
If you're a lumberjack, eat breakfast.
All right, so I have a bunch of Kickstarters we would like to thank for backing us in the Kickstarter. Let's start out with Jason Trutman.
These ones are all done recently.
No, I just did those. I wrote that.
Oh, you wrote that?
I wrote that, Chris.
We're off the rails.
Woo! We're not tired and running off very little sleep from a week of awesome convention. Brad Yoakum, Marco Dingham from the Netherlands, a member of the Worgeniggen Board Gamers.
Nice.
Nobody, thank you, Nobody. We appreciate you for your contribution.
We should thank some people at least.
Wow.
Adrian Heiniger.
Nobody's the person that was trying to eat Odysseus. No man has stabbed my eye.
Board Games Group Burn from Switzerland.
Heck yeah.
Eliza and Mabel Briggs. Carolyn Guo. Joe and Andrea.
You know what? We're going to declare that they're from Sweden. What Nordic countries have we not hit yet? Norway?
This is just Joe and Andrea.
Yeah, it's from Norway.
Just like Joe, like the Joe and Andrea, not the Joe and Andrea from Norway.
Okay.
It's different. Leigh and Sarah Birmingham, Arcane Wonders, Greg Clark, and Steve Tracy.
Nice.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you all very, very much.
All right. So, folks, we mentioned this last time, and so our Board Game Breakfast show is now sponsored by Grip Mats.
Grip Mats!
So Grip Mat is a company that makes play mats for board games, and so we're actually going to show off right here their Etsy page. This is where you can go and purchase any of these if you're interested. You just type in Grip Mats in Etsy, and it'll pull up this landing page here. The idea being that these are play mats, either specific for games or just kind of general games, like just general mats, and they have a little bit of grip to them so the pieces don't slide around. Like I really want to try this Suro board.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and the point is that they're grippy, not sticky.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the cool things I saw on the page is the fact of like, oh man, this would be great for things like X-Wing. It was showing like, oh, if you don't have the grip on it, like your miniatures could just slide all over the place. But if you have it, then they're going to stay where they're supposed to stay, which is really important for that kind of game. But yeah, you can have different options on different boards where you have grippy stuff or not grippy. And this looks like a great solo board for Marvel United. You know, it helps everything.
It looks
kind
more
of face
compact
you.
than the giant circle one too.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
This is the thing, like for solo or for two-player, I wouldn't even mind sitting upside down to this, right?
Oh, right.
But like in general, yeah, they said this is a really good solo mat for Marvel United or DC United. Just saying.
Never heard of it.
All right. Anyway, so there you go. That's grip mats there. Really looking forward to getting some of those in, and we'll actually be showing those off here in the future.
For sure.
As well as they'll be doing some sponsored top 10 lists with giveaways. So keep an eye out for that in the future. But with all that said, well, we get started.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with eye catchers. So this is just games that we're excited about, things we've heard about, and mine is Wrath of Fire Mountain. So this is a Eric Lang and Phil Walker Harding team up, and it is by Game Right. So it's gonna, I assume, end up in a can.
It is in a tin, for sure.
All of their
tin.
games tend to be, it's got the rounded edges, the tin edges. So Wrath of Fire Mountain is an area control game, which I'm always a little hit or miss on, depending on the game. I really enjoy some of them. Other ones, I'm like, I don't know. But you are you're like cavemen living with dinosaurs, trying to hatch and breed dinosaurs, while volcanoes are changing the landscape around you with earthquakes and stuff. So it just sounds like a fun theme. I obviously adore Phil Walker Harding. It's interesting because I'm trying to think if there's any Eric Lang games that I really enjoy.
I would say I've played this.
Oh, you
I played it multiple times. I actually taught our family plays games how to play this game while Eric supervised because
Oh,
I was
really?
trying to be like, Eric, let me teach your game. So yeah,
Well,
played
did you
this
like
at
it?
BGG?
I played this at BGG Spring. This is
Okay.
basically like my first Blood Rage almost, with kind of like Yahtzee dice mechanics.
Okay.
I was joking about that.
It's quite literally, that's kind of what it is. It's got a lot of area control. The cool thing is that the volcano is going to be shifting the little tiles around.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing too is like when you get these dinosaur eggs, you're basically saving them up or saving up your cavemen on the like dinosaur spot to like hatch these dinosaurs in your different area. And then you have dinosaurs with superpowers, and you get to put a little ring
What?
on it and put them out with monsters. Because Eric Lang says he only makes one kind of game. But yeah,
if
he
your
said
dice
this was a
gets power, or if your dragon gets powers, then put a little ring on it.
yeah, so
Anyway.
this was a collaboration in between Phil Walker Harding and him, and it was like a really cool little area control game where you have little cavemen that go out and try to control the different areas, and you're shifting around trying to make your areas bigger with your cavemen controlling them to score points after the volcano
And are the
goes
dinosaurs
off.
like the monsters from Blood
The
Rage? with
dinosaurs are
special
kind of
power?
like special power monsters from Blood Rage that have, yeah, very much like that. Some of them have
Okay.
are stronger, some of them just have special abilities, help you move around the board more. Yeah, of course, the Tyrannosaurus eats other cavemen, you know.
Okay, so when we joke that like this is my first Blood Rage, it's not a kid's game though, specifically, right? It's
I would
family
say
weight?
it's definitely a family weight game. I think if your kids are a little bit older, they could probably play it by themselves. It's like pretty like easy as long as they could read and know what's going on. But yeah, it's like pretty solid as far as that goes. It's just air control. The cool things is the tiles are shifting around as the air control goes along. So
That's cool.
but it was fun.
That's cool. All right. Let's see. My eye catcher is kind of waffling back and forth, but this is a Kickstarter that's coming up today. This is from All Play, so they make the bags that we really enjoy. And
Oh,
here's the thing.
nice.
I know All Play is a sponsor of the channel, but I just really like their bags, and so I never feel bad talking about their bags because I think that they're really solid. And so this is something they're trying that
You can get wheels?
you can get wheels. You can pop a wheelie with your
Oh.
bag.
I'm jealous.
You know, they get really heavy.
They do, right? Yeah, once you shove in enough games. Even just like, I just brought to East like small box games. I was like, yeah, I'll bring like my copy of a game that I'll talk about here in the top 10. A lot of small like trick-taking and stuff. And after so many like small card games, I was like, oh, it's still heavy, right? So I'm curious. I'm not saying that this is going to be like a slam dunk, but the idea of putting wheels on it, that might be really good. The other thing that they're doing are these illustrated playmats, and so I got a little early peek at who the artists are and what what the graphic design of them is going to be. So this is like the most cosmic one here. This is Kwanchai Moria's artwork. They also have some here from, let's see, the dragon one here is from Sundara Teng, who did both the Flamecraft, like cutesy dragons, but she also does like really good fantasy dragons.
I love it.
Ian O'Toole, and then the one over here on the left is like a D&D map style.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
So this is the most like busy looking one, but the other ones have more of like a calm center. This one will launch today, like in a little bit, in a few hours, but I think they did a good job, and I like the idea of like these decorative playmats that have a neutral spot in the middle, but still decoration and a theme to them.
I definitely want some wheels for my bag. I now use my all-play bag just slap full of prototypes, not small box games. So it's quite heavy. So I'm like, I need this. I was carrying around a gigantic cart of stuff, and my all-play bag was on it. So this is actually solving the solution of making that even more compact. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to
There you
see
go.
this. Yeah, I'm hopeful that it works really well. All right, Roy. your
Oh,
eye
for
catcher.
me, my eye catcher is Unstoppable. So this is a I guess like rogue-lite game, card style game from John DeClaire, and I just really enjoy the way he makes games, and I haven't seen this kind of game come out from him before, so I'm really excited to see. John DeClaire has all sorts of different designs like all over the place, and I really enjoy a lot of his different games. It'll be really cool to see how this one works out. I think the cards are going to be like evolving as the game goes along. You try to go further and further. It has like this momentum system, I guess is what they're calling it, and I'm just really excited to see how all this works together.
Is that a different way to say engine build?
I think it's probably one of those things of like, since it's a roguelike, because roguelikes are normally like you go until you die and
Yeah,
you go
and then
until
you
you
restart,
die.
yeah.
It's probably going to be one of those things of like, I don't know. For some reason, I don't know at all. But I'm just assuming that's something where you just have to, if you stop, that's kind of like the end of it, and you have to start over. So it's like you got to keep up the momentum, or else if the adrenaline stops, you die. That sort of thing. But that's all just conjecture, actually. But
there's that card
cool.
crafting thing where like this is a basic card here, and it's got like cutouts on it,
and it can be advanced.
You got different upgrades that you can slide in the different areas.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love things like Marvel Champions and stuff like that. So this whole like boss battling or fighting against a bunch of enemies as like the hero is really appealing to me. So I'm excited to see how it all comes together. That should be fun.
All right. So
Sweet.
There you go. There's something that caught our eye this week. Why don't we jump ahead to some contributors now?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my segment, Board Game in 1,000 Pieces. So today I chose this puzzle. We've got a lot of games on there, but the one I chose will be Apples to Apples. In Apples to Apples, if you don't know it, the referee will play a card with 2 adjectives, and the other ones will play cards that match and have to discuss why they are the funniest. So, like if the referee would play the card with funny, and one would play the card with cat videos, and they could argue why cat videos are funnier than maybe dog videos or something, whatever. So that's Apples to Apples. In Germany, it is called Apfelkompott. So I'm usually quite bad at those games because I'm too nervous to be funny. So I'm absolutely the opposite of funny. But the one thing I managed to do was when somebody said spiritual, I said, okay, it's something that you believe in, although you can't see it. So I played the card, my apps. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's the game. That's the puzzle. Let's do it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more puzzle stuff I do, you can pop over to my channel on YouTube or Instagram. I'm Sue Burgundy. Have a nice breakfast.
This is a segment where we take a look at a board game based on an IP, and I tell you if the IP and the mechanisms match. Today we're looking at Grim Forest. So to win the game, you're going to be building these different buildings, and you're going to have 3 pieces to make up each building, and you'll be going through the game to do so. Once you have 3 buildings, it doesn't matter what type of building it is, but once you have 3 of these built, the game will end and you will be crowned the winner. Then the cards will be revealed, and I'm just going to set these up here so you can easily see where everybody went. Then you'll put your miniature out on the spot that you went to, and that will notify the players of where you went. And so what's going to happen here is if you go to a place by yourself, like here, this character went to the straw, they will get all of the straw. The player went here by themselves for wood, so they will get all of the wood. Well, the brick here, more than one person went to it. So what's going to happen is since there's only 3, each player will get 1, and 1 will be left over for the next round. This is a game most people would say doesn't have an intellectual property because it has been in the public domain for so long, but still the Grim Forest and the fairy tales is something that really is an IP. If it was released nowadays, it'd be part of the intellectual properties, I suppose. Some people may think I'm cheating a little bit. I do not. So how does this feel? This feels more like you're in the Shrek universe of fairy tales than it does like maybe traditional fairy tales. Everybody's attacking everybody, everybody's after everybody, and you're kind of going out, you're kind of building the little pigs' houses, etc. I think it works pretty well. It's kind of weird to go to more than one location. I guess that you would share the items. You're just picking these things up, and I think that works with the game. This is a take that game with a lot of attacking other people. It's really, really overproduced. But I think if you looked at it, maybe not from the fairy tales, although a lot of their powers are based on those fairy tales, which is really cool, but it feels like you're in that Shrek universe, and I think it works in that respect. So for us, I do think the IP and the mechanisms work with the Grimm fairy tales enough. This is a game you should check out if you can get your hands on a copy.
as we're back from Dice Tower East, we're going to go ahead and talk about the top 10 topic of being top 10 games that we played at Dice Tower East.
So
I was
cliche.
there.
I was there.
And there were games
You
played.
were there. And you were there.
Was there too?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
There's so many awesome games. There's a few that I'm sad didn't quite make the
Right.
top of the list and stuff. Like Stefan Brunel from is he from Repos Asmodee making fun of Jason as we're playing the Gang, the co-op poker
Yeah.
game and stuff. That was my favorite single memory. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off with number 10, which actually is a hard to find trick taking game called Boast or Nothing. So some people I connected with who are in like big trick taking discords and stuff said, "Hey, here's the list of stuff I'm bringing." I said, "I want to play this one." So I played it in the app a bunch of times. This is this really wacky trick taking game where the colors of the three suits are like rearranging constantly.
Oh,
it does it
interesting.
in like the best way I've seen. A lot of those are like too chaotic and weird. This one's very like thinky, and yet look at this like insano artwork.
Yeah, what is going on with that?
It's like a Super Mario Cloud who's a rock star in a slot machine and
Everything else in between.
eating a whole turkey like his Garfield. Yeah, this is a great trick-taking game that has been out of print for a while, and it's going to. I know that like publisher is picking this one up and bringing it back. So I'm excited
Okay.
about that.
That's exciting.
Yep. So that was my number 10. Going on to Wendy.
It's
your number
me.
9. It's you.
All right.
Oh, sorry,
That's me.
Roy.
I was like, come on.
It's not me.
I was like, I thought it was next in the order. I actually put a game from our dexterity area on here, and this is the whip and skip game. This is basically kind of like skeet ball, but you throw this puck around, and then you get in the 25, the 50, or the 100. And people are going to be like, oh, you put a silly dexterity game? I played this so many times. My kids love this. So we sat over there and we played whip and skip over and over and over and over again. Like we all got it in the 100. We all got it in the like we were actually like playing the game a ton of times over and over again. And we would go back and forth, and people would be walking by and be like, holy smokes, you guys are good at that game. And be like, we've been here playing it forever. But yeah, it was a blast to play. And this is just one of those things. We have this gigantic dexterity area at Dice Tower East
Yes.
with
with all these different games. It's just cool to like have those set out there and just be able to walk up and just play it. So like almost every single time we walked by, we were playing some whip and skip. So yeah,
that's
my
fun.
number
I can
9,
see
just
that.
because it is silly fun.
I think that was the one that was played the most.
I only tried that once. It was like I was just walking by and I was like, let me do one. And I did one and I was like, oh, I didn't make it.
There's
I
a
could
very
keep going.
it's a
Like I knew I could
technique.
get addicted to it, so I was like, I'm just gonna walk away.
It's highly addictive. Whip
There-
and skip.
There will be video of it in the vlog, which all things, hopefully, I will have that edited by the end of the day.
Oh,
All right.
nice.
Wendy, number 8.
All right, mine is Path of Civilization. I actually got to play this with the designer Fabien. He was at the convention, and it was one of those that I sat down not realizing who he was. I was just like, oh, I've heard a lot about this. Everyone in the office really enjoys it. I'm gonna sit down and play it, and it's pretty awesome.
It's good.
So it's a civilization game that's real time, so it goes nice and quickly. There's some cool interactive points
I would say
depending on what you choose.
simultaneous instead of real time, right?
That's what I meant,
Oh, okay,
simultaneous. Simultaneous, not real time. Yeah, so there's some interesting points of interaction in it. I enjoy the actual like building up of your civilization. You are engine building bigger and better cards as you're researching new technology. But you can only ever have like 5 cards total, or 4 cards total. Yeah, you play 4 cards out each round. And so you're getting rid of cards that you've gotten before as you're getting new cards. And so you're like, oh, I really want this, icon, but I need to get rid of it to make space for this other one that has like 3 icons on it, even though it's not the same icon. So there's some cool decisions there.
Yep. Right. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
My number 7 actually involves Fabienne as well. So, by the way, if you were there at Dice Tower, go ahead and just drop in the chat what was your favorite game.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike
We
Heller.
want to know.
I've dropped you particularly because I know that you were there. Number 7 for me, like I said, also involved Fabien Gridel, because he's also not only the designer of Path of Civilization, he's also the co-designer of Turing Machine. And since he was a big fan of Logic, I thought, hey, I asked him, have you played A Message from the Stars?
I thought you were going to say the duck poop game, which I don't think he designed, but the company was
That
there
was-
with it.
That was, what was it? Captain Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I asked him, have you played A Message from the Stars? And he had not yet. So I went and we grabbed a few people, taught it to him. I was the alien, he was the humans, and we're sitting there trying to decipher each other's codes and stuff. And he's sitting there just going like, "This is amazing." He's very French, and so he's like, "My English is no good." So he like grabbed a bunch of people together, and he was like, he was like, "You do the words. Like, I'll figure math, but you make up words and stuff." So it was really funny.
Oh, that's interesting.
He liked it so much that he bought it, and he was like, "I'm going to rearrange what are the like common, uncommon letters for French, and I'm going to play it with friends and family."
Really?
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's how much he liked it.
That's way cool.
So that was a really cool moment. So yeah, my number 7, A Message from the Stars.
Nice.
Number 6.
All right, my number 6 is also a deduction game, and this is Spectral. This is a game by Ryan Courtney, and I played it with Alex from Board Game Co. He taught me this game, and this is basically a game where you're trying to figure out where these different gems are, but also, and it's kind of a little bit of almost card area control sort of thing, because you're trying to, whoever has the most people around where the gems are wins. But when you flip over a card, and it has a gem on it, that's not where the gem is. The card shows you where the gem is in the spaces on the board. So like you can get one that has like a reflective thing, and that means across on the other side of the board, the gem is supposed to be in this space. And then there could be one that says, oh, it's 2 spaces diagonal. Every space, if it's has a space that's 2 spaces diagonal from it. Or there could be one that's like, oh, it's to the like in this same square, it's the one diagonal from it. And it's like, okay, I know where the diamonds are. But on top of that, there's cards that are also curses. So if there is a curse, any of the area control pieces that people are putting out to actually like flip these cards over and look at them, because they all start face down, and they're always face down, but you look at them and then write down your little notepad where the things are. The curse ones are going to make it so that none of your guys count if they're touching a curse. So it's like, okay, I need to know where the diamond is, but I also need to be standing on the correct side so I don't get hit by a curse, and then I can get the points. So, but this whole game of like when you place characters out, you get to look at it. But you have values of 1, 2, and 4, and then you're trying to place the right value there to get it. This was just a great deduction game. It's very thinky, very much like you have to like play the other players almost. It's like, okay, they went hard on that space, but they're there. I can't go there because I can't really outnumber them, so I might have to, like, this side might be clear so I can battle them on this side, but there could be a curse right here. So it's like you have to figure out all of that stuff, and having it all come together is really interesting. And it's extremely brain-birdy, thinky game, which I expect from Ryan Courtney.
And the production's great. Yeah, I really want to get this one played again.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah, Spectral was fun.
All right, to number 5.
All right.
Wendy.
My number 5 is just to prove that I'm not cold to the new. This is Buring Ham. I got to teach it again. I love this game. So it's my number 1 in my top 100. It has been for many years. And I'll tell you what, every time I come back and I teach a group of people and I play it, I just think there's no other game out there like this. Like, there's no other game that does what it does, and that's why it just keeps being number 1 for me. It's so great. I love the positive interaction. Like, explaining to people that you're like, yes, if you build steel and it's out on the board and I need to use it, I'm going to use it. And you're like, oh, well, you're taking my steel. And I'm like, no, this is a good thing, because then you get to turn that steel over and you get points.
And income.
And income and like all this good stuff. It just helps. Like, it just helps each other. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, this is wonderful.
All right. Number 4, back over to me. This one was the first game I played of the convention. We had a fan, Renee, and at this point I consider him a friend. He flew out from Mexico City, not Mexico City, Monterrey actually. He flew down from Mexico to come to the con, and we played Comic Hunters. It was the first game that I played the evening when like early registration was happening. Brought my copy of it, because I knew that people were going to want to play it. I taught this game 4 times at the con.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had so much fun. But
Is that why it was number 4?
It's exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah. In fact, if I had taught it 7 times, I'll fix it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need that for later. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, Comic Hunters is so good. I talked to so many people, and almost every single one of them was like, why isn't it Gen Con yet? And I could buy this now. So.
I heard that for multiple games.
Yeah.
Cities was one of those that like everybody wanted to buy a copy of. Everybody wanted to buy a copy of Cities.
Yeah, Vegetable Stock, Comic Hunters.
Yep.
Yeah, people were very happy about this one, especially when I told them like it's literally like a month away. So anyway, Comic Hunters, fantastic.
Nice.
All right, my number 3, which I guess is technically my number 1, but in this list it's number 3. That is Cosmic Encounter. I was walking around the library with my kids and we were like trying to find something to play. And this group of dudes came up and were like, "Hey, will you teach us Cosmic Encounter?" I'm like, "My kids are here, so as long as like you don't mind them joining in, then that would be awesome." And they're like, "Oh, that'd be cool." So me and Violet were on a team, but me and Scotty played with these group of awesome dudes and taught them how to play Cosmic Encounter. None of them had played before. Scotty had never played Cosmic Encounter before,
Oh,
so it was
really?
really cool to teach one of my top 10 games to my son as well. And we played through the game and we're going through all the stuff and they're seeing all the intricacies and like, "Oh, I can see how like this inspired that and how like people like really like this game because of all this stuff, all the negotiation and backstabbing." And we got down to the point where it's like a lot of us were on 4 points and you need 5 colonies to win the game. And it ended up that it was my son Scotty's turn and I had set him up to be at 4 so we could ally together and win the game. And he goes, he gets an encounter with the orange player, and ends up being like, "Oh, I just want to negotiate. I'll negotiate with you." And I'm like, "Scotty, no, you need me to ally so that we can win together." He's like, no, I'm just going to negotiate with him for the win. And the other guy's like, "Oh, dude, we'll negotiate." And my son ended up winning with this
dang.
other guy without me. I'm like, backstabbed after I set you up to
Betrayed
win.
by your own flesh and blood, man.
It happens often, but no, it was a
That's
blast
fair.
to play, and Scotty had a ton of fun, and everybody there had a ton of fun. So, and I just love Cosmic Encounter. This is a game that's older than I am, has expired so many other games, and it's still a blast to play, and I love teaching it. So yeah, Cosmic Encounter, my number 3.
Oh, awesome. All right, well, my number 2 is, what did I write down? It is Galactic Cruise. That's what it's called. Galactic Cruise. Anytime anybody came up to me in the convention, they're like, "Yeah, what's the best game you've played?" And I'm like, "It's not available yet," and someone paid like $1,500 to get a copy of it to then bring it to the convention. Okay.
It was like a
Side note.
exclusive Kickstarter.
Yeah, it was like a
pledge.
Kickstarter
There was like
pledge.
4 of them.
Okay. I don't think any game is worth $1,500. It could be covered in gold. I don't think it's worth $1,500. But if you personally think it is and you want to bring it to a convention and let me play it early, I'm not going to complain about that. So Galactic Cruise, you are vying to become the CEO of this space cruise company, and so the person with the most victory points at the end of the game is going to be the best and becomes the CEO. But you're like putting together these shuttles and planning your fun activities on your cruises, and you've got 3 different types of people that you're trying to impress with your different activities and the different things on the ship. And it's so funny because we put on a Dice Tower cruise every year, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." Like I see the connection with the cruise industry. Like it's really there. It's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try this because people keep saying like it's like a Vitalis sort of weight game, but
Yes.
people are
But
basically
nice.
saying like top tier.
Yeah,
So-
it's like a very, there's a lot of positive interaction. I mean, there's like bumping when you're doing your worker placement. You can use other people's gears and pay them to do, to use their stuff.
It's not like you like that brass or
Yeah.
anything.
So I liked it a lot.
Nice.
All right. Number 1, I'm going to go ahead and actually pull the one from Mike Heller in the chat here, even though he mistyped something. He said for him, his favorite was playing, I think he wrote here, Age of Empires 3rd Edition, World Spanner. That's actually Duel of Ages. Duel of Ages World Spanner. Playing it with Tom.
That's awesome. I'm glad that they got to play it because I know Tom's been really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tom's gotten... I
And
know
with
he played
Rod
it
Phelps,
Joey.
who's been on some of our live stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
Nice.
Some of our live plays.
The Rod Father, if you will. So anyway, I think that's cool. It's impressive when you come to a convention like this. You will play just such a wide swath of games, Whip and Skiff or World Spanner.
Yeah. I saw in the chat they said that Grant did a 150-person blob party. That was
Really?
fun.
Holy smokes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be
And there's a
cool.
bunch of other events. Like I did my like last light thing, which I would have mentioned, but I didn't play. I taught. So but yeah,
Off on
so
a
many cool
technicality.
things. There you
That's
go.
right.
All right, well, there you go. That's our top 10.
Hey, I'm Jordan. Let's talk about a weeknight game. This is Set a Watch. This is from Rock Manor Games. And it's a cooperative game. It's a fantasy-themed game about a group of, a band of folks. I don't do fantasy stuff, so I don't know what the terms are. But you got like a knight and like a healer or like a sorcerers, magicians. I don't know. What do we got here? There's a kingdom, and there's people that have powers. I don't know, and you're using your powers to fight some bad guys, I guess. And you have a campsite in the woods, and I really don't know fantasy stuff. You got a campsite in the woods. Somebody's trying to protect the fire. You're setting a watch. And the rest of them are going to go out and try to beat these baddies that are coming at you one after the other. You got this row of baddies. And you roll some dice, take some actions. You're trying to use these actions in the most efficient way. You have your dice that you're going to be adding up to take out the hit points on the baddies. But you also have these special action cards that you can use periodically throughout the game. And those action cards are really cool. I think that's kind of the core of this, what really makes this game sing, because those action cards can be swapped out periodically, but they are so unique to your player and allow you to take out certain enemies and really help the cooperation between players. Oh, I can take out undead characters, so I'm going to take out these next two characters and now these next two baddies, and you can help out with, one that's has a HP of over 10, that kind of thing. Works out super well. I do wish there was different ways to mitigate dice rolls, because it really is roll high dice, or else you're kind of screwed. But I do have a bunch of content for it, and I have a suspicion that some of the other expansions and versions of this game are going to fix that, but we'll see. But so far, I've been enjoying Set a Watch. I'm Jordan. Thanks.
Hello, this is Oliver, and today I wanted to talk about a game Hello, this is Oliver, and today I'm going to be talking about a game that I really like, that I played an expansion for, and I really like that expansion. And that game is called Seven Wonders Architects Metals. And one thing I like about this game is it's in the title, Metals. I really think it adds something in the game that you didn't know you needed, but it makes the game so much more fun. It basically just, you try to complete a task with the person on your right and the person on your left. And if you get to that task first, if you beat the task before they do, you get the 4-point medal. And I just think it adds that cool little touch that no one knew you needed, but deep in your heart you did. Another thing is they added several new sciences, and the two that I thought were really cool is the one where you could see the top of the middle deck always. Like, usually you would have to get the cat, and then you could, mysteriously look at the top card in the deck. But now you can just do that whenever you want, even if you don't have the cat. Another science that I like was the one where you don't have to discard any of your war cards, even if there are horns on them, because usually you have to discard the war cards with horns on them. And I just think that is really, that you're going to win all the wars, especially if you have the War Wonder or whatever. And it's a great segue, because next we're going to be talking about the two wonders they added. The one I had a cool ability, and it was that I was kind of the cat guy. Like, you always have this thing that you're an expert at, like there's a science, a war. And I just think it adds a cool little touch, like at Rome, and I've been getting into Rome with Foundations of Rome. So that's all I have to say about Seven Wonders Architects Metals. Have a great breakfast. Bye.
What we do here is go back.
All right, our old school game today is a game that I feel like helped stir up, especially Euro games and the modern board game hobby. And sometimes it gets dissed on a little bit these days, but this is Katan. So Katan is widely successful, and I think is one of those games that people consider it a hobby game, but had made it into mass market. And I know
really
this just
has.
shook things up so much in board games in general. I remember playing this so much back in the day. I actually played the Settlers of Canaan version of this, it's very similar, but the board was static. But Katan, just the fact that the board can be different each time you play, and the whole aspect of trading resources back and forth and trying to figure out that player interaction, and just rolling 2 dice to try to get the different numbers, and the numbers are gonna have different values, and not roll a 7 so you lose half of your stuff. It's one of those games that I think the first few times you play it is super special. I feel like most people these days have played Katan a lot, so.
That's the interesting thing is I feel like when I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I play board games, but like you're like, I don't think you really play board. You know what I mean? Like I don't think you're
Yeah.
like deep in the hobby. That sounds very elitist. I don't mean that. But yeah, when they're like, oh yeah, I like board games. I always ask, okay, what games do you like? Because I don't want to come across as snooty. I want to know what they like, what they've played. And this and Ticket to Ride are like the two that always people say.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I've played Katan, or oh, I've played Ticket to Ride. And so I think this is so cool that, like you said, it's almost become mass markety. That like this is a lot of people's intro into our hobby. And that's very cool.
And it's funny, I just a year and a half ago or so after the designer Klaus Teuber passed away, a lot of people were writing up very personal stories about what Catan meant for them as gamers.
Yeah, for
This
sure.
was something I didn't play until I was 23 and
crazy.
And engaged to me.
engaged to Wendy. My brother had been introduced to a bunch of modern board games, so he taught us Dominion and Catan, like kind of just like, in the same week, basically back to back of each other. And while Catan didn't stick with me as like one of those like it was Dominion was the one that got me deeper into the hobby.
Yeah.
This is one that we played many times. Like we played this for weeks
did.
straight.
I'm
played
pretty
this.
sure the first time I played this was in my early teens, or like whenever like it was like first coming out. Was a long time ago, and we got like the expansion to go to 5 to 6 players or whatever, which I don't think I would even want to play with now. or
Oh, we
whatever.
had that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like trying to like be like, okay, I gotta get one more road for longest road. Okay, I gotta dig through the deck more to get a victory point card so I can push myself to that 10 victory points. I mean, there's so many games where you're racing to a certain number of victory points to win the game, and like that's still a thing in so many games,
Yeah.
See, I played this as a teenager, but I played the Settlers of Zarahemla version, which is the exact same thing, except for there's like a temple you can invest in. Or
Yeah,
something
that's the
like that.
exact same way
You
that
know what I mean? Yeah.
the
Settlers
Sons
of
of Canaan is.
Yeah. And you mentioned static board. This one had like 3. It was like 3 pieces that you could flip and move
cool.
around.
Yeah, I like that.
But it wasn't like the full modular board. It was like a slight modular
It was like
board.
simplified. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the big strip in the middle, 2 4 strips, and then the 3 strips. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Canaan one had one space that was like gold, and if you were on that, then you would get like you'd get whatever resource
Just
you
a
want
wild.
if that rolled. But the
Yeah.
numbers were specifically static, so that one was always like, I don't know, like an 8 or something like that.
So here at the Dice Tower, we did a Game and Talk of this recently. Like I say recently, meaning in the last year. I don't
Yeah.
know when it was done. And Game and Talks, that's one of those like titles that some people don't understand. It's basically like
It's a rip-off of Tabletop.
it is a rip off of tabletop. Yeah, so it's like it's a playthrough, but it's not a static playthrough. It's like a more interactive
And you
playthrough.
stop and talk about what's going on.
It feels more like reality TV.
Yeah.
You love it.
So one of the things that was written shortly after Klaus Teuber passed, one of the ones I read that I really loved was Dan Thoreau, who does Space Biff written reviews. He wrote this really cool piece on Catan. One of my favorite things he pointed out, he said, Catan is known as like the Euro game, and yet it is the most unlike every other thing that we established as Euro games.
Yeah, going forward,
It's
yeah.
mean. It's interactive.
There's a lot of luck.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
luck. You're rolling dice constantly, and yet it is known as like the Euro game. There's something so.
I think it's the
Like-
coloring and the hexagon.
Well, it's just the fact of it was resource management, and back in the day, not that many games had this thing where you're getting these resources and using it to build things on the board. And then victory points was not really as much of a concept back then. It was very much just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna crush you, or oh, I'm gonna get to the end of a track to win, or like get to the end of a race like a line or whatever, or have the
Yeah.
most money. This was like victory points. If you get this victory points, there's a whole bunch of different ways to get those victory points. That was very unique for Catan, you know.
Yeah, and then like the little hidden point cards, just all that stuff. It somehow is so different, and yet is kind of like still regaled as the king of Euro games. There's something really
Yeah.
special about that. So there you go. That's our thoughts on Catan. Well, something I'm not going to play all the time necessarily, but
I haven't played it in forever, and I do wonder, because I've never played like this I played Catan Junior with my kids back in the day, but it's so different than this. I
is,
do
yeah.
wonder like how my family would look at this, like going back on it, so.
yeah, we replayed this. I mean, you played it recently in the Game and Talk. I played it a few years back with some friends, and what we did was we finagled the setup of the board a little bit so that it wasn't going to just be super brutal, like whoever got the best first placement was going to have a better time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I found that kind of smoothing up the setup a little bit
Makes it feel less, yeah.
Yeah, we had a more fun time with it. So yeah, one that we'll come back to at some point, and one that I'd be happy to. So there you go. Katan or the Settlers of Katan.
There you go.
Hello, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Here I have Barbie Dream Date, published in 1992 by Golden. This is a 2 to 4 player game in which you're trying to take Barbie out on the best date. Let me set this up and show you how it works. This is what the game board will look like set up. Everybody's going to play as Ken. Is going to start over here on this side of the locket. Barbie's going to be over here at her mansion waiting for Ken to pick her up. You're going to go ahead and set the clock to 12 o'clock. And then on every player's turn, they're going to spin both these spinners. Yay, a spinner. On a number, you're just going to add the numbers together and then move your Ken in the clockwise direction around the locket. If it's a number and a clock, you're going to go ahead and move Ken that many spaces and then advance the clock 1 hour. If you spin double clocks, you're going to move the clock back 1 hour. It can never go past 12 o'clock. When Ken is moving around the locket and he ends up on a space with a gift, you're just going to take that appropriate card and put it right next to you. Ken is going to go around the locket here until he reaches the second locket, coming around the second locket, trying to pick up as many gifts as possible before he picks up Barbie from her dream house. You can only have one of each particular gift. Once Ken picks up Barbie, you'll go ahead and put her in the slot with Ken. And now they're going to move to the outside of the locket. When Ken and Barbie are on the outside of the locket, they can move in either direction. They're trying to go out on as many dates as possible. Once you land on a certain activity, you'll just go ahead and take that card and put it right next to you. Try to go on as many activities as you can, but you can only go on one particular one. You can't do it twice. The game is going to be over when the clock strikes midnight. The winner is the person that has the most gifts and went on the most activities with Barbie. Barbie is one lucky gal. Well, that's all the time I have for now. If you have a comment below, or you can X them to me at Retro Board Gamer. And as always, may your rolls or spins be high.
Hi everyone, it's Stella and that's Taryn from Maple University.
Hello.
We are trying to find Atlantis in Finding Atlantis, logic puzzle deduction game with app.
Yes, this is and hidden movement, so it's got
It
a
is.
lot of your classics all merged together in here. So essentially, each turn you get 2 actions per turn, and you do them in the app by scanning the cards. Over
Direction matters as well.
Sometimes direction matters.
Yeah.
And that's got the Concordia action pool management type
Love
of
that.
thing going on. And those cards will let you scan the landscape looking for deep ocean versus seamounts and looking for traces of civilization in Atlantis. And you've got hidden movement. So certain actions are going to show everyone what you find, and certain movements aren't.
Yep.
And when you have to keep enough hidden movements so that no one knows exactly where you are, so that only you know exactly what you've searched.
And when you have to pick up or you want to pick up all your cards, you resurface and basically everyone will know where you are exactly.
Yeah, so as long as once you work out that the most critical thing is not to make it obvious where you are.
Yeah.
Because otherwise everyone has the same information you do, as long as they've been taking notes. Once you've worked that out, then yeah, it becomes a tricky little deduction game with that hidden movement, but with simple enough map rules that it balances out really well.
It's balanced. And whoever that finds, the first one that finds all Atlantis, depending how big the map is, wins the game.
Yep.
There's also artifact that helps you in the game. There's this mine that will throw some chaos into the game, but overall it's a very, very fun game.
Yes, you can be pirates and drop mines on each other, which is great.
That's Finding Atlantis. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I need to X Asdrubal more often. I just don't do it enough.
Nice.
Is
All
this
right.
like an X-Men theme?
That's exactly.
just
No, it's
Wakanda
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever, like.
I'm gonna do that in like normal conversation. You're gonna see me at Gen Con and be like, yeah, if you want to get a
Dice
hold of me,
Star booth is
just
over
X me.
there.
All right, mail time. Why don't we go ahead and see who today's mailman is, bringing us a nice, kind letter.
Morning, Dice Tower fans. My name is Jay Bernardo. I run the YouTube channel Cardboard East, where I talk about board games from Asia. Chris E. over at the Dice Tower asked if I could answer one of these questions from the Board Game Breakfast. So let's take a look at the question. We've been seeing more games getting a broader release from Brazil and Japan lately. Are there any other markets you think will become big in the future? I really can't say much about Brazil. I think the only Brazil game that I have is the read-on version of Trick of the Rails, which is originally a Japanese game. This is the American release, and then this is the super fancy Brazilian release, which just looks rocking and banging. This looks like it's ready for, I don't know, today's market. But I could definitely speak towards Japan. I think the reason why Japan gets so many games out is for, well, a number of reasons. If you're from the 1900s like myself, you'll realize that Japan had a big boom in the 80s. And that's why like all the anime is super fancy, because they had so much money to deal with. You have all these video games. And as a result of that, I mean, look at today, Tokyo Game Market, which is the largest board game convention in Japan, is also the world's largest board game convention for indie publishers. And Western publishers come in and license them. For example, like Ito is an amazing Japanese party game that got licensed by Arcane Wonders. All of Asia is booming right now. This game comes from Indonesia. Indonesia has a lot of crazy games coming out right now. You have games from Thailand. Like Thailand has tons of party games. This one isn't. This is a rondel game about otters building a city. This is a game from Vietnam about Vietnamese opera. This is a trick-taking game. And look at this. Look how rad that is. Like the game box turns into a stage where there are people going up in meeples that you're fighting over to recruit. A Taiwanese game, a game from Taiwan. This is about fishing. And you probably heard about this game because Allplay picked it up and is releasing it this year, and they're calling it Lure. Korea is exploding right now. Like you have Gunnil, who designs all these two-player trick-taking games. His most recent one is like Phantom of the Opera. This is an amazing game. Well, you probably know him because he also did Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard from Mandu Games. Like they're a Korean publisher. This is another one from Thailand. This is an abstract game from Thailand. And this is actually quite fun. It's a chess-like game. This game, Rainforest City, comes from Singapore. I think Cascadia is a fine game, but like this, I would rather play than Cascadia any day of the week. You're just rebuilding the city, you're putting these cards down, you're putting different animals there. Also in Singapore, there is an annual board game festival called ABGF, Asian Board Game Festival. More than 50% of the attendees are women. Tons of families that go there. India is exploding with tons of new games. Look at this game. You see the printing here? You see how like it's 3D pushed out, like that bevel there? This comes as is. It comes with tuck boxes, with rubber bands. And these tuck boxes are all beautiful. Look at that. This is like a civ building game of ancient India. Even though like Japan is being huge and big, there's a lot of games that people haven't really explored from Japan. Like this one is Bricolage Heads, which is about 3D art, and you are making 3D art in the game. Like it feels like Brass Birmingham meets art, and just for 2 players. It's rad. This is a game called Ultimate Voyage. It's coming to Kickstarter. It's about the Zhenghe treasure ships of the Ming Dynasty. And this is like a Euro strategy game, even though you can't really say Euro anymore because other countries are making these strategy games. There is so much happening all around Southeast Asia, including India. Singapore and Taiwan and Korea and Japan, like just all of it. And if you're really curious about these games, check me out at Cardboard East, where I talk about these games every week. Well, I think I answered your question, Chris. If not, well then I'll see you at Gen Con.
I really like Jay, so he has his channel Cardboard East, but that's what he specialized. He lived in Taiwan for the last, I think it was like 8 years or so, and so he was like really plugged into everything there, and he has
gaming scene.
Yeah, he still has so many connections. So even though he moved back to the United States, Jay actually works for the marketing for Bezier Games.
Oh, nice.
So like the Xylotar, like remember when we showed off like all the like their Twitter page and stuff. Like he does that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Fun.
I love how the more the world comes connected or whatever, and the easier it is for like people to get everywhere, and the more communication, the more that like just all sorts of board games from all over the world are just becoming more accessible. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And there's there's so much of that like FOMO that happens with a lot of these international games. And so I think it's awesome that a lot of publishers are bringing them over.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes it's like stuff that's brought to the publisher. Sometimes it's things that publishers have specific scouts who are like, hey, be on the lookout first. They'll send someone to Tokyo Game Market. Look for some of the stuff there that looks cool, but also publishable to a wider audience.
Right.
It's funny when you look at Arcane Wonders lineup here. The next three of the next Dice Tower Essentials games are Vegetable Stock from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Ito from Japan. And
Comic Hunters from Brazil. And Obama the video game or video game champion or whatever is also from Brazil.
Yeah. So 4 of those games, you know, are international releases, and it's. I think the coolest thing is it feels like a market has made it when people start talking about games without saying this is that cool Taiwanese game, this is that cool Brazilian. When it just becomes this is a popular board game.
Well, we do still say Euro games, even.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Katan just a second ago, and that kind of started the craze of like people in America being super excited about German games. They're like German games, and everybody was doing paste ups for all the cards and finding like rule books that have been translated badly into like that language. And it's cool to see that for a bunch of different countries. Like there's so many like Asian countries now that people are bringing in games and like getting super excited about. I mean, even like silly things like, oh, Splendor was made into a Pokemon version. Now everybody wants the Korean version of it that has Pokemon on it, just because it's like, oh man, we can't get that in the States because of licensing issues. But the world is easier to get things now, so people are grabbing up copies of that stuff.
Having Google Translate, the fact that you can take a picture of a rule book and you have the English, I mean, not a great translation, but still a functional translation of a rule book instantly is amazing.
I imported in a bunch of like Japanese products and things like that, and I got a bunch of Japanese Pokemon cards, and I had a starter set, and me and my kids actually played with the Japanese cards just by using like the Translate app to like reread all of the stuff. I know Pokemon, the card game, enough to be like, okay, I know what this power does. I know what this power does.
Sometimes it's a rough translation.
Sometimes
I know what that means.
Or translation like, hey, draw your dairy things, and I'm like, what? This is bad translation. Let me scan it again, and normally it fixes it. But yeah, it's fun.
Games Ninja makes a point here. Like we used to call, like before we called Euro games, a lot of times they were just called German games, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, at this point, it's not like a wonder anymore to be like, do you want to play this game? It's from Germany. You know.
You're right.
And I think it'll be cool that it'll hit that point when we say like, hey, here's this cool trick-taking game. Like, and it's kind of fun to say like, it's an import from Japan or it's from, you know, Indonesia or whatever. But at some point, those markets will become more connected, and I think that's a great thing for the hobby.
It does make me wonder if there will ever be another term for Euro games, or if that's just stuck in the hobby now. You know, you got your Ameritrash, you've got your Euro. Like, are they going to?
Do they call those games in Europe Euro games, or do they just call them that, or is that a very American thing to do?
I feel like at Essen people say they're like, it's a Euro game, you know, and it's just one of those things that probably at some point will lose association with Europe.
Yeah.
And it just means like, Euro game. That's what we call them.
There's so many Euro games that come out of from American designers, you know, and from like Asian designers. It's like, well, this is like Brass Birmingham. Well, that would be considered Euro gaming, but you know, it's not, you know. So.
Well, and then there's so many games that are trying to combine the two ideas too. You've got a lot more resource management in your
combat
games,
mechanics.
You know what I mean?
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I like that question. I thought that was a perfect fit for Jay. So yeah, make sure to go check out his stuff. I'm excited to see Bezier's booth at
for sure.
too.
Gen Con's going to be awesome.
You should also make sure, more importantly, to check out the Dice Tower booth.
Yes.
That's right. Thanks for joining us today. We have a live play in just a few minutes. What game are we playing?
Age of Angra.
Age of Angra.
So make sure to go check out that live play. That'll be just be in the other studio there. The sponsorship from Grip Mats. So go ahead and check out their Etsy page.
And we are just about to go live, so let's end this thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
And I'm Roy Kennedy.
Have fun gaming.
Peace.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.